and welcome to Mental Health Mondays, where we talk about all the different things we can do to support our mental health and wellness. My name is Jenna Kelland. I'm a holistic nutrition coach and mom of 3 kids with special needs. I'm the owner of Spark Wellness Nutrition, and I really believe that our mental health and wellness come from supporting ourselves in so many different ways. And so I've been bringing together some experts to share their perspectives and their expertise on ways we can support our mental health. So today my guest is Hanna Morgan, who is a life coach for moms. Welcome, Hanna.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I love everything that you do.
I'm so excited to hear from you and about your topic today. So why don't you start us out by telling us a little bit about your background and, what got you interested in supporting moms and, what brought you to this point in your journey?
Yeah, of course. So like you said, I am a life coach for moms. It's something I am very passionate about because my journey into motherhood started out a little bit rocky. I was not prepared for everything that comes along with motherhood. I was not prepared for the loneliness I felt, for the lack of myself. I felt very lost. I was just taking care of my baby all the time. I did not have the energy or the mental stability to take care of myself at all. So I quickly burnt out, and it was really, really hard to go through that. So my mission is to help moms have an amazing journey into motherhood, to help and support them so that they can thrive in motherhood, so that they can focus on their needs and not feel stuck and lost and lonely, but know that they are not alone. They can continue to pursue their passions and their dreams, all while taking care of kids.
All right. Thanks, Hanna. And that's something, as a mom myself, I think we've all experienced that to some degree, that something shifts when we become a mom, and we often lose that sense of identity. Our priorities shift to looking after our baby, or I had twins,
Yeah.
so looking after babies.
Oh, wow.
And that becomes everything. And somewhere we get
Yeah.
lost in that. So it's great to be, thinking about ways to support moms through that process. That's really important.
Yeah.
And I think, probably, the risk is that without that support, we lead to, maternal mental health challenges and such, which
Oh,
are
yeah.
difficult for moms and babies as well. So
Mm-hmm.
great. So do you have some strategies to share around, what people can do in that situation? What do you teach your clients to help them get through this time of becoming a mom, of dealing with these challenges you've explained?
Yeah. So one thing that I think is very helpful, and something that we're not always taught as women and mothers, is how to recognize our needs and to really get in tune with what we want and what we need, and then being able to take care of those. It's not other people's responsibilities to make sure our needs are met. It solely is our responsibility. So one thing, just something easy that you can do to kind of help recognize what those needs are, is to ask yourself 4 questions. So if you're going through something or just feeling lost or confused, ask yourself these 4 questions. What do I think? What do I feel? What do I want? What do I need? Kind of go through those questions, tap into yourself, figure out what you want, what you need, what you think, what you feel, and then you can meet those needs in whatever way you need to.
All right. Well, I think that's so powerful. I remember fairly recently having that aha moment, like, yeah, nobody cares about my health and wellness as much as I do. Like, nobody's making dentist
Exactly.
appointments for me anymore, making sure I do my meditation, making sure I exercise and eat well. That's my job. There's no one else who's stepping in to do that. So yeah, a really good reminder that we have to look after ourselves and all of that.
For sure.
Okay, so one of the other things you mentioned that you do work around is boundaries, and I'd love to
Yes.
hear a little bit about how we fit boundaries into this. I suspect it's in something that one of those questions of what I need right now, boundaries is
Yeah.
going to come up.
Oh, yeah. I love talking about boundaries. It's something I've studied, and it's something that comes up a lot for my clients. So I make sure that I know a lot about them, and I have set my own boundaries and read lots of books. So basically, boundaries, put simply, are our own personal limits, what we will and will not allow into our life. So there's many different kinds of boundaries. Some of the main ones that I talk about and focus on are emotional boundaries, boundaries around how you feel, who you engage with, and what parts of yourself you share. There's physical boundaries, so our physical limits and our personal space, and our resource boundaries. And this is the one that comes up a lot. So resource boundaries are around our time, our energy, and just the resources we have. So we only have a certain amount of time and energy to give and to spend. And so we get to decide how we spend it. We get to set those boundaries. So as I've set my own boundaries and help clients set boundaries, I've noticed there's kind of a process and some steps that you can take. And one of the first things that I've noticed is helpful when setting boundaries is to value yourself, value who you are, value your resources. And then once you do that, it's easier to set these boundaries and to let people know, hey, I value my time and my energy. This is my boundary. Another important kind of first step is to notice any resentment. So anytime you say yes and then you immediately resent saying yes to that thing your neighbor wanted you to do, or your family member wanted you to do, or you resent the person because they asked you to do something, that's usually a sign that you need a boundary there. The next step is to define your boundaries. So decide what your limit is, what you're going to do, how you're going to spend your time. Define it very clearly so you know personally what your boundary is. And then the next step is to communicate it. So tell the person, hey, that's not okay with me. This is my boundary. This is how I need things to happen. An important part when communicating your boundary is to keep it very simple. You do not have to apologize. You do not have to justify. You don't have to over-explain. You can say no, period. That is a boundary. That is okay to do. That's my favorite one. Just say no. And just keep it very simple so everyone's kind of on the same page. And this is one that a lot of people don't always get, is to have a clear consequence for when your boundary is broken. So you can decide, it's important to decide beforehand what your consequence is going to be. So say you have a family member who talks very negatively and has just kind of bad energy and will say rude things to you. You can say, hey, if you talk to me like that, I will leave the room, or I will go home, or I will not be able to communicate with you. So that is the consequence there. So you don't have to take in that negativity and that bad energy or anything like that. So setting that clear boundary and then having that consequence, hey, I'm going to leave. I'm not going to be able to answer my phone. That's another one that I've seen. Sometimes family members will call and you told them, hey, please don't call this time. And then the consequence is just don't answer your phone. Like you can set that boundary. You don't have to answer your phone. Take care of yourself. And the last step that I found very helpful is to have support. So have a therapist or a coach or someone that you can talk to if it's been really hard to set boundaries, someone who will be there for you to help you kind of work through them and just love you and support you as you set hard boundaries. Because I found that a lot of times boundary setting is for family members. You got to set boundaries with family members, and that can be hard. So it's very helpful to have some support there to get you through that. And just a few quick examples of what boundaries sound like, because it's hard to kind of know exactly what to say. So here's a few things you can say if you need to say no to someone. So you could say, no, I can't do that, but here's what I can do. That's just not going to work for me. I can't give you my answer right now. Will you check with me later? Or I'm not able to commit to that right now. So just some easier, simpler ways to say, no, that's not going to work for me.
All right, thanks, Hannah. And those examples are so helpful because sometimes we get stuck in I want to communicate this in a way that's not going to cause problems in the relationship.
Right.
So the way we phrase that can make a difference. And if we're doing that from a point of anger or resentment or feeling overwhelmed, we might not use the words we want. So having some examples can be really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. It's hard when we're setting our boundaries from a place of anger. So if we can kind of work through that and be like, hey, this is my boundary. No, this is the consequence. Then it's a little bit simpler.
All right. Well, I can see some of the connections myself, but I'd love you to explain to us, how this supports our mental health or how this relates to mental health and wellness.
Yeah, I think it's really just protecting ourselves, protecting our needs, protecting our time, our energy, our space. A lot of times moms and women, we're taught, or we just want to give, and we can't give if we don't have. So if we can set our boundaries, then we can fill ourselves up. We can do things to meet our needs, to make sure that we're taken care of and that our mental health is at a really good place. And then once we do that, we can actually give, and we can be better mothers and better people, and be able to give more if we are able to first set our boundaries, protect ourselves, and make sure that we have really good mental health and that we're doing well.
Yeah, I think I really agree with that need to value ourselves and our time and our resources, as you pointed out, and see that as important. I think that's a key part of being able to make choices that support your mental health. So whether that's setting boundaries, or when I work with clients, prioritizing self-care and choosing foods that support your physical and mental health. It's much easier to do that when you've got a sense of what you need, and that you're valuable and it's worth it to do it. And then you've got some ways to say, no, that's not supporting what I need right now. And I think we even sometimes need to do that with ourselves, saying, you know what, this habit of browsing through Facebook is not supporting myself. I need to create a boundary even within, tell myself that this is enough, because I matter and my time is valuable and I have other things to do. Yeah.
Saying that phrase, I matter, I'm going to set this boundary with how much Facebook time I get, because it's affecting my mental health or whatever is going on. I think setting boundaries with ourselves as well is very, very important. And it goes right along with our self-care. Like, caring for ourselves is setting boundaries and making sure that we can meet our needs in a way that fits best for us.
Yeah, I think that's so true. So I love to always ask my guests, Hanna, what's a book that you love that's, inspired you or helped you along your journey, or you just think, everybody needs to read this book? Have you got something to share?
Yep. The one that I'm reading right now, I'm not quite finished, but it's been phenomenal so far, is called Burnout. And it's about you have it.
I have it. I've been reading it too. Yeah.
It's so good. So, it talks about human giver syndrome, and there's human beings and human givers. And a lot of times women and moms fall under the category of human givers. We just want to give and give and give. And that's where we need to set those boundaries so that we can take care of ourselves and not just give until we're burnt out and exhausted. So such a great book.
It is a great book. And I love that it's got some practical exercises. And I love that it's realistic, and it says things like, let's adjust your expectations, like to how this is going to work out. We can reduce our stress by setting realistic expectations. Like,
love that.
What can I actually accomplish? What is, what's a reasonable expectation in this situation? So definitely, I recommend that book too. And I will share the details for anybody who's looking for that book in the comments below. So Hanna, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, find out more about, setting boundaries, about these questions to ask yourself to see how you're doing, about really just, being effective mom in balancing that with your other needs, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook group called Inspiring Moms to Dream, and I share all kinds of tips and tricks to help you in motherhood. And I do various workshops. And the next one I'm doing is actually going to be on boundaries. So if you join my Facebook group, you can join that. It's going to be really good. And then I'm also on Instagram. My Instagram is Hanna Morgan Coaching. So my name is unique. I don't have an H at the end of my name. So it's just Hanna Morgan Coaching. So that's my Instagram, where I share great things as well for moms and motherhood.
All right. I will put both of those links in the comments for people who are excited to find out more about this. So thanks so much, Hannah, for being here today and talking to us
Thank
about
you.
boundaries. I always enjoy these because I get new strategies, and I love your 4 questions to ask. That's one of those things that's kind of useful in the moment. And I think
Yes.
they're the same kind of things I talk to clients about, like if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, if you're starting to feel
Mhm.
panicky, let's bring it back and find out what's going on that you need, or what's not being met right now or contributing to that feeling. So great
Yeah,
questions
I
to
love that.
ask. All right. So thanks everyone for watching this episode of Mental Health Mondays. We'll be back again next week with another episode where we talk about, all the different things that can support your mental health, like setting boundaries and checking in and valuing yourself. These are all part of the conversation about, what supports good mental health and wellness. So I welcome you to join us again next week when we'll have another discussion on the topic of great mental health. Thanks for joining us. Take care and be well.